December 31st, 2022, New Year's Eve. 2022 is almost over, and by the time many of you see this, it will be over. And so we end another year. As I said, the last 2 years I've kind of referred to kind of the years of living dangerously, giving a very radicalized Democrat Party having full control of the government, essentially, except for, I guess, the Supreme Court. But essentially, they even have found ways to attack the Supreme Court as well. But fortunately for us, a couple of people in the Senate held out and prevented that from happening, or it would have happened. I think that a lot of people in the conservative world that continue to, rant and rave about various people in the Republican Party, I somehow don't have a sense of just how close we came to something that would have swept all their viewpoints away for a long time. But that doesn't mean I'm happy with the decisions that, say, Senator McConnell made on the budget. And we'll have a better idea next week whether or not that was a prudent thing to do or really a bad thing to do. And that is, can the House actually organize itself properly or not? And that's still up in the air as of this recording. So, but in general, I would have said, like I said, the holdout for continuing resolution and settle the budget in the next year when we'd have more ability to influence things and maybe to add a few things to it. But I've been into that in the other previous videos, so we don't need to rehash that. But I guess I want to get on to, kind of looking forward to 2023 and kind of what we think will happen there. By the way, if you like these videos, please click the like button, and you can subscribe if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate that. Thanks to the last subscriber. We gained another one the other day, and I appreciate that. And of course, if you want notifications, you can click the bell. Yeah. So looking to 2023, what do we expect here on a lot of issues? And there's a bunch of things going on. Well, first of all, I guess the first challenge will be, can the Republicans actually organize the House or not? Or will a few dissident conservatives, for reasons that are unclear to me at all, continue to create a fuss? I mean, mainly it seems like they want to create a very unstable situation in the House where at any moment somebody can decide to call a vote and throw out the speaker over any little pet peeve they have. And I don't think that's a good idea. Basically, I understand they've been under the totalitarian rule of Nancy Pelosi for some time, and obviously that can get people the wrong way. But I think they need to come to some reasonable solution so we can kind of have a stable House of Representatives that can carry out the policies they've been elected for. I don't really have all these extreme fears. I don't think that, I actually think that Kevin McCarthy is a pretty good pragmatic conservative given the situation. After all, conservatives have to understand they are not a majority. Liberals, very far left people, have always understood they're not a majority, and that's why they're effective. Because they don't sit around expecting that they're just going to win, They have to use every trick in the book to get there. And we need to get a little bit more like that, too, and understand there's that group of mushy moderates that really don't know which way to go, and they kind of zig and zag. And those are the people that ultimately decide all the elections in reality. So that's why occasionally you have to take something you don't like. But you have to continue to fight for what you really do want. Okay. So looking forward to that, what will they be able to accomplish? Assuming the best case scenario here, one thing they will accomplish is they'll shut down the extreme Biden agenda, I think. All those wishful ideas that people like Schumer and Bernie Sanders and AOC wanted to do, I think are pretty much on hold now. Although the legacy of what they've already accomplished will continue to churn forward, because that's already appropriated in the last budget and so forth, and that is there. But I think we can at least mitigate additional increments of that for the time being. I think that the House may be able to pass some good legislation, but the best of it probably will just die in the Senate. And of course, it really will be to the next budget, the fiscal 2024 budget from the coming fall, that they will have a chance to really do anything of substance. But in the meantime, they can hold hearings and expose some of the abuses of what's going on in Homeland Security, allowing all the illegal aliens come into the country, accepting all kinds of false amnesty requests as being serious, and then the FBI and its involvement in trying to intervene in domestic politics. Okay, so I think that's one thing that will happen. On other issues, I think, well, inflation, I think, will continue for a good part of the year. I mean, it's the last couple of reports have been more encouraging, but it's still probably too high. However, you look at year over year, a lot of that is what happened earlier in the year. I think the interest rates, the Fed funds rate will probably continue to go up slightly, although I think we're nearing the peak. I doubt it will go above 5% personally. So I think we'll probably have no more three-quarter point increases, probably maybe only quarter point. The last was half. I think they may go down to a quarter for a couple of sessions or whatever of their meetings, and then I think they'll probably just hold it there for quite a while until the inflation abates. And we've been in a mini recession last summer. I don't care what the Biden administration tries to lie about it, but it popped back up in the third quarter, probably due to the government spending toward the end of the quarter. And I think a lot of the downturn was due to lower, the inventories were high, and so they had to be drawn down. And then probably reached the point where inventories start being built up again. So things of that sort. So the stock market, therefore, I suspect will continue to be volatile for a while and probably hit newer, go down and retest the lows. At least that's my guess sometime. But we may very well hit the bottom sometime during 2023 and get set for an emerging bull market then. But the exact date and when is kind of hard to tell. And on the war in Ukraine, which I think we can briefly discuss that. I mean, I think, as I've said before, I think we've reached kind of a stalemate for the moment. I haven't seen any major Ukrainian gains or major Russian gains, actually. The Battle of Bakhmut seems to be going forward, and it looks like at the moment that after some fairly serious attacks by the Russians, the Ukrainians seem to have held out. And it seems like, maybe the Russians then are going to reinforce again and make another try next year. And I guess I don't really see much in the way of Ukrainian gains either. So it looks like we're in a stalemate for the moment. We've had some interesting attempts to attack Russian strategic bomber bases with the old target drones who had been converted into guided missiles. However, like the last attempt, apparently was just shot down. So I don't think that's going to be a very effective tactic other than harassment. And we'll just have to see what happens. We do see that Russia is building up a fairly large army. They're positioned in Belarus to potentially attack toward western Ukraine. And it looks like the Ukrainian military is now putting defensive positions in place to potentially hope to counter that. And so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I tend to think sometime in the coming year, probably in the winter when it gets good and cold, that we have another attempt at a serious Russian offensive. And then we'll have to see how that plays out. My general thought is that Russia will probably not be able to conquer Ukraine, that they will hold out. At the same time, I don't think that Ukraine is going to be able to drive Russia out of their internationally recognized territory either. And so far, the position of not negotiating is just leading to a lot of death on both sides. I think the risk of nuclear conflict is abated somewhat, but can't be totally eliminated because people have to understand that Russia's fighting on their own border. They're not fighting in some far-off place in Syria or Afghanistan, or like we used to be in, say, Vietnam or Afghanistan. And so when you're on your own border, it's a different thing. And when you're an authoritarian-oriented regime, it's also a different thing. And so the potential for escalation is there if we don't come to a negotiated settlement at some point. Hopefully, it won't go that far. Another thing I am looking forward to in the year ahead, which is on the identified aerial phenomena or UFO subject, in the latest Defense Authorization Act, there's some interesting language which allows people who have knowledge of government programs and activities related to this subject to come forward to this All Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, and it's been created by law and put into reporting directly to the DoD, I guess. It's given a higher status and position. and people who have previously had very special access type clearances are now free to go forward to this organization and tell them what they want. So in other words, that the legal restrictions have been on a lot of people who have talked to various individuals we've heard in that community who say that they would say something if they legally could, but they're under obligations of law and potential prosecution not to. Well, now apparently they can go to an organization which can accumulate this information and then make classified reports and redacted unclassified reports. That is, the classified report would go to the intelligence committees and the I guess into the Gang of Four in the Congress, and then the unclassified redacted report would be publicly available, where they take out the things that are just too sensitive to reveal. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of this. I mean, people can be pretty cynical on the subject, but over the years, there's been a lot of indication that, that something really is going on. I mean, from my own scientific training, you have to be somewhat skeptical because the claims seem to involve phenomena that violate the known laws of physics. And worse than that, they violate them in areas where they're considered to be pretty firm and probably well established, not the cutting edge areas where we don't know yet, like high energy physics or cosmology, where you always are expecting surprises there, but areas of the size of aircraft or spacecraft, macroscopic, level vehicles, seeming to not follow the known laws as we see them. That is pretty outrageous, but it seems to be happening. And so, at any rate, we'll see what comes of this. I mean, the rumor mill's been around for almost 80 years now. So maybe something will come forward, or maybe it won't. My main hope is probably people who have been involved in what I call the project, that have retired and been read out of it, may come forward. But the ones that are currently active might be less likely to, because they probably will lose their job over it. Even with these new rules, they may not go to prison, but they probably won't have a job anymore. So that might be a big, gag effect on them. I just thought I'd mention that too, and we'll just see what happens. So otherwise, I guess I'm wishing everybody a happy new year, and we hope things are better next year, of course. And I'll of course be posting this on Rumble as well. I'm picking up a few viewers there in the last few videos, and so either one is just as good. I have more viewers on YouTube, but certainly the Rumble audience is good too. I'm trying to cultivate both, and I'll wrap this up for now. You can see my daily thoughts. I generally tend to post on Twitter, as I'm fairly active there. And of course, I post these on a variety of social media accounts, and sometimes I'll post other things on there too. But Twitter's become a lot more acceptable now that the censorship has been lifted, I think. At least I don't think they're going to censor things that I'm saying anyhow, because I'm not. And we'll wrap this up for now until next year.